At this stage, the laborers still form an incoherent mass scattered over the whole country and broken up by their mutual competition. If anywhere they unite to form more compact bodies, this is not yet the consequence of their own active union, but of the union of the bourgeoisie class. In order to attain its own political ends, is compelled to the whole proletariat in motion, and moreover yet, for a time, able to do so. At this stage, therefore, proletarians do not fight their enemies, but their enemies of their enemies, the remnants of absolute monarchy, the landowners, the non-industrial bourgeoisie, the petty bourgeoisie. Thus, the whole historical movement is concentrated in the hands of the bourgeoisie. Every victory so obtained is a victory for the bourgeoisie. But with the development of industry, proletariat not only increases the number, but becomes more concentrated in greater masses. Its strength grows, and it feels that strength more. Various interests and conditions of life within the ranks of the proletariat are more and more equalized in proportion as machinery obliterates and distinctions of labor, and nearly everywhere reduces wages to the same low level. Growing competition among the bourgeoisie and the resulting commercial crisis make the wage of the workers even more fluctuating. The increasing improvement of machinery, e- ever more rapidly developing, make their livelihood more and more precarious. The collisions between individual workmen and the individual bourgeoisie take more and more of the character of collisions between two classes. Thereupon, the workers have begun to form combinations, trade unions, against against the bourgeoisie. They clubbed together in order to keep up the rate wages. They found permanent association in order to make the provision beforehand for the occasional revolts. Here and there, contest breaks out into riots. Now and then, the workers are victorious, only for a time. The real fruits of their battle lies, not in the immediate result, but in the ever expanding union of the workers. This union is helped on by the improved means of communication that they are created by modern industry. All that place the workers of different localities in contact with one another. It was just this contact that was needed to centralize the numerous local struggles, all of the same character, into one national struggle between classes. But every struggle is a political struggle, that union to attain which the burghers of the Middle Ages, with their miserable highway, required centuries. The modern proletariat, thanks to the railways, achieve it in a few years. This organization of the proletarian into a class, consequently into a political party, is continually being upset again by the competition between the workers themselves. But it ever rises up again, stronger, firmer, and mightier. It compels legislative recognition of particular interests of the workers. By taking advantage of the divisions among the bourgeoisie itself. Thus, the 10 Hours Bill in London was carried. Altogether, collisions between the classes of the old society further in many ways. Course of development of the proletariat. The bourgeoisie finds itself involved in a constant battle, at first with aristocracy, later on with those proportion of the bourgeoisie itself, whose interests have become antagonistic to, to the progress of industry, at all the, at all the time with the bourgeoisie on foreign countries. In all these battles, it seems itself compelled to appeal to the proletariat, to ask for help, and thus drag it into a political arena with the bourgeoisie itself. therefore supplies the proletariat with its own elements of political and general education. In other words, it furnishes the proletariat with weapons for fighting the bourgeoisie. Further, as we have already seen, either section of the ruling class are, by the advance of industry, precipitated into the proletariat, or at least threatened in their conditions of existence. These also supply the proletariat with fresh elements of enlightenment and progress. Finally, in the times of class struggle nears a decisive hour, the progress of disillusion going on within the ruling class, in fact within a whole range of all society, assumes such a violent, glaring character that a small section of the ruling class cuts itself adrift and joins the revolutionary class that holds the future in its hand, just as, therefore, at an earlier period, a section of nobility went over to the bourgeoisie. So now, for a portion of the bourgeoisie goes over to the proletariat, and in particular, a portion of the bourgeois ideologists who have raised themselves to the level of comprehending, theoretically, the historical movement of a whole. Of the classes that stand to face with the bourgeoisie today, proletariat alone is a really revolutionary class. Other classes decay and finally disappear in the face of modern industry. Proletariat is a special and essential product. The lower middle class, the small manufacturer, the shopkeeper, the artisan, the peasant, all of these fight against the bourgeoisie to save from extinction their existence as a fraction of the middle class. They are therefore not revolutionary, conservative, nay, they are more reactionary. So they try to roll back the wheel of history. If by chance they are revolutionary, they are only so in the view of impending transfer to the proletariat. They thus defend not their present, but their future interests. They desert they desert their own standpoint to place themselves at that of the proletariat. Endangered class, lumpenproletariat, the social scum, that passively rotting mass thrown off by the lowest layers of all society, may here and there be swept into the movement by a proletariat revolution. These conditions of life, however, prepare it for more for the part of bribed tool of reactionary intrigue. In the conditions of the proletariat, they, those of all society, who are at large are already virtually swamped. Proletariat is without property. Its relations to his wife and children has no longer anything in common with the bourgeoisie family relation. Modern industry, labor, modern subjugation to capital. The same in England as in France, in America, in Germany, has stripped him of every trace of national character. Low morality, religion, are to him so many bourgeois prejudices behind which lurk in ambush just as many bourgeoisie